Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. We are back. This is the preview for Manchester United's trip to the Etihad and a Manchester City side that are on a current streak of 21 wins on the bounce. Manchester United, on the other hand, I think it's 21 wins unbeaten away from home in the league. But obviously, Manchester United's form is a little bit more questionable as we head into this game, as we've dropped points over the last couple of weeks against the likes of West Bromwich Albion, Sheffield United, and of course, most recently, Crystal Palace. The last three games have been 0-0 for Manchester United. We're not conceding, but we're not scoring either, and we've lacked ideas in the last couple of games out. Has that been fatigue, tiredness setting into the team, or is it just a lack of ideas? And are we crying for Paul Pogba to return to the 11 in that midfield, because we have seen some below par performances from Manchester United stars? Obviously, we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at the team news, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's quotes ahead of the game as well. And you guys that are watching with us live, obviously, if you're watching after we have been live, as hundreds and thousands of you do after we've been live, then obviously get your comments in. Let us know your suggestions for each position. There are a few positions that are already cemented. We already know about Dean Henderson is going to be starting in goal for Manchester United, with David De Gea currently with his family, with his partner, and with his newborn in Spain. And obviously, when he returns, he's going to have to be, I think, held in quarantine, which means it's going to be a delayed return for your man David De Gea, and it means Dean Henderson's got an opportunity, a prolonged opportunity in between the sticks for Manchester United, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Obviously, a clean sheet for him last time out against Crystal Palace. So we'll be going through everything here today on AdamMcKola TV. Make sure you're getting your comments in so it's all interactive. And as AK says, am I on the kickoff tomorrow? I am on the kickoff tomorrow as well for the game. Hopefully, we'll be rubbing the victory into Boovy's face. I can't be sitting next to that guy if Manchester United are the receiver, then I really can't. So get your thoughts in, keep it like, comment, share, subscribe. We can already see Young N, Yao Kim, Toby, MUFC fan Nathan, JT, Akshay as well in the comments. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Get your comments, likes, shares, super chats, all that good stuff in. And T800 says, I am willing to bet we win tomorrow. It would be typical of us. And look, I totally hear you, I totally hear you. It would be typical of us. Having dropped points against the teams that you'd expect us to beat. There's been a lot of talk recently about us not being able to beat the big six, but they've not been able to beat us either, apart from Spurs. And when you look at the results against Crystal Palace, we've dropped 5 points against Crystal Palace in both games. 2 points dropped against West Bromwich Albion. 3 points dropped against Sheffield United. 2 points dropped late on against Everton and Leicester. Now, Everton and Leicester are very good sides. You can draw away from home against Leicester, and Everton, you can get a draw. But when you look at those games, that's a lot of points dropped there. Around, I missed count while I was doing it, but was it around 14 points? The 5 points against Palace, 3 points against Sheffield, 2 points against West Brom, that's 10. And then the 4 points we dropped in those other two games late on, that's 14 points. Now, obviously, there's also been some games where we've won them late on with a little bit of luck or a little bit of perseverance or whatever. But those points there are the ones that are going to cost us, not the performances against the big six. Because whilst we haven't won in those games, we haven't been beaten in those games or many of those games either. So we've also been taking points off our opposition. Thank you very much for the comment, Toby. Safe says he thinks Pep will play for the draw. Now, I don't think that's true, but I do think that he will, potentially play a little bit more reserved than they have done recently. But I still think that it won't mean that they will, play for a draw, as you put it. Sat Singh, of course I haven't. Why are you suggesting that? Ross, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Would you bench Rashford after the last game, says Kareem. It's an interesting question in regards to Marcus Rashford. Now, his goal return and his assist contribution this year has been magnificent. He's on course for one of his, if not his best season in a Manchester United shirt. So you have to take your hat off to him for that. But if you look at his performances this campaign, his all-round performances, you can think of a handful of games where Marcus Rashford has been the Marcus Rashford we know and love. Now there's talk that he's carrying a shoulder injury. And if he is, he shouldn't play, because we need to get him fit. We can't be letting him play through injury again, as we've seen him do in the past, because it doesn't benefit anybody in the long run. So we need to, if he's not fit, then you need to get him fit. Stop playing him through injury. It's not fair on him. But also, you know, he's so good for a goal or an assist that you kind of have to keep him in the team. The rest of the team around him hasn't been contributing. Anthony Martial, our top goal scorer, Players Player of the Year last year, not contributed enough this season. Mason Greenwood, whilst I think his performances have improved as the season's gone on, he hasn't contributed as many goals as he did last season. Bruno's off the boil recently, but we know his contribution's massive. Cavani was out, and then even then, if you look at his goals, not been a huge contribution. Now, I do feel we've got to create more for Cavani, and that's been one of the frustrating things, and for Anthony Martial when he plays there. So this just isn't just about Cavani, but we don't create enough for our strikers, and that's down to Marcus Rashford, that's down to Bruno Fernandes, that's down to Mason Greenwood doing more. We don't create enough opportunities, and we don't really have, players there that are looking at the moment for those 1-2s, open up some space, create some opportunities. It's all very I'm going to score. I'm going to get my head down, try and beat a man, shoot and score. And we need to get back to playing that good football, that interchange football that we've seen us do many times, pulling teams apart. So we need to get back to that. And we haven't seen it enough from the players this season. And there's been some players that are suffering for it. Now, I do think, Anthony Martial, some of his issues have been his own issues. But I do think the chance creation has let down whoever's playing in the number 9 position, especially against teams in the last couple of weeks and months that have been having a low block. If you look at what Casso's commented, Cavani averages like 0.8 shots per game. Mikel Antonio averages 1.7. It says a lot. And we're comparing that with the West Ham team. Now, a West Ham team that are doing very well, but a West Ham team, if you look at the players that play for Man City, Liverpool, when they're playing really well, they're getting so many more chances. And we really need to start creating more opportunities, because we can't keep expecting strikers to just pull something out of the bag. We have to create something, and we haven't done it enough. So I do think it's fair for some of the critique of Rashford's form. Obviously, some of it goes over the top as well. But I also think his goal contributions, his assists, he's always a threat for a goal. Whether he's on form or not, that means he's got to stay in the team, because we haven't got enough players like that at the minute. Now, Yao Kim says we should play a 3-5-2. Now, get your thoughts in on that, because when we are creating the team in about 5 to 10 minutes time, obviously the formation will come into it. 4-2-3-1's the way we usually go, but will we see a formation change against Manchester City? It's always a possibility. Toby says, do you think United need a new creative attacking player? Obviously, if Pogba returns, that's one more. Donny van der Beek, that's one more. Although Donny hasn't been used much. I do think we need to get what's going on behind them sorted a little bit more, so we're able to play through the thirds a little bit more, get the ball through to their feet. Because if you look, McTominay and Fred is probably the way to go against Manchester City in this game, and they've been successful in this game before. But more often than not, the distribution, the passing isn't good enough. Like, loads of moves break down because one of those two, usually Fred, has given the ball away. And I know that sounds harsh, but we need so much more in that position, in the 6th position. And if you even get a proper number 6, a proper holding midfielder who can win the ball back, get the ball off your defenders, bring the ball forward, get it playing through the thirds, get setting your attacks up, then it allows you to be able to free up one of your other midfielders as well. You haven't got the two sitting there in front of the defence, which is what we've got at the moment. And we've also got two sitting in front of the defence because we don't totally trust the two behind them, Maguire and whoever. Now, we need Eric Bailly to be fit, for sure. We need Eric Bailly to be fit because we are a much better side when he's in the team. Hopefully, if he's fit, he'll be starting tomorrow. Now, we know Dean Henderson's going to start this game, so I'm going to put him in my team already. I think we know Marcus Rashford's going to start this game, so I'll put him in the team. And we know that Bruno's going to start as well, so I'll put him in the team. But let us know your thoughts on who else should start. I've got a sneaky feeling Daniel James will start in this game as well. So I don't know if you guys share that opinion. But I've got Bruno, Rashford, Dean Henderson in there so far. We know Maguire's going to start. That's a gimme. We know Luke Shaw's going to start. That's also a gimme. And we know Aaron Wan-Bissaka's going to start as well in it. Who else is going to start in those positions? Is it Bailly or Lindelof? Who are you going for in the midfield? Who on the right, Greenwood or James? And who up top, Cavani or Martial? Because it looks like Martial should be back in the squad for this one. Let's have a look at some of the quotes from this weekend's press conference, which I'll bring up soon. But get some of your thoughts on those questions that I've just asked you in regards to the starting 11 as well. So scrolling down, I am using... One sec. I'm using United Report for these quotes, so thank you to those guys. And Solskjaer was speaking, obviously, about David De Gea and Dean Henderson, and he commented that De Gea had to go home, and in the old world, that is a day and you are ready again. But with the pandemic, it's a different world. We felt when David wants to go, there isn't even a decision to make. Dean is ready. Solskjaer and the difference between United and City. He said, "I don't worry. I can only control what is happening at Manchester United. There are so many differences between the two clubs. At the moment, they are the only team that are ahead of us." That could change tonight, in fact, when Brighton play Leicester. But also, a defeat which isn't out of the question, obviously, against Man City. A couple of other results go against us. That gap closes again. And United's top four isn't guaranteed. We've got some other tricky fixtures coming up in the campaign. We've got to go to Spurs. We've got Liverpool to come to Old Trafford. We've got some tricky fixtures coming up. West Ham at Old Trafford soon. We need to be picking up wins ASAP. We should have picked up a win in that Palace game. Again, it would have helped to stretch the lead a little bit from Chelsea. Chelsea won their game from Liverpool, who were just behind them. So it was a failure not to do that. And whilst, yes, City are the only club above us, that might not be the way it goes in the next couple of weeks. And that's something that you do have to fear as a United fan. Solskjaer said in the Premier League, when opponents don't make mistakes, you've got to earn it. We lack that, but we are still unbeaten. 3-4 weeks ago, the narrative was we couldn't defend. Now it is we can't score. It's obviously about finding that balance, which we need to do. He said, as soon as De Gea travels back, we have to follow the rules. I expect him to be ready very soon. We allowed him to go back, and we want him back as soon as possible. But he is only human. I don't know when he is back, but it won't be long. Compare that to when Anthony Martial left pre-season tour to attend the birth of his child, and Jose Mourinho lost his head. A little bit of man management doesn't go too far. It goes far, doesn't it? Solskjaer also said Dean did well against Palace. He's looking forward to the City game as well, and he's played against them in the Carabao Cup. We have looked at the approach in the big games changing. He says we've looked at it. We have been, in a strange way, more positive, high pressing more or less every game, trying to pin teams back. Last year, maybe we relied more on the counter-attacks. And I do agree with that, particularly in the last couple of games, Chelsea, Liverpool. I don't think they were as negative as Arsenal at home or Chelsea at home. So I do think when we do discuss those results against the big six, I think you can see, like the Spurs one at the start of the season, I think a lot of that down to a red card in pre-season. We started the game pretty well. The defence tossed it off. red card. It just went where everything that could went wrong that day. The Arsenal and Chelsea game, for some reason, Ollie went super negative. He has to take the blame for those points dropped. But if you look at the Liverpool one, we probably had the best chances on the day. Should have won that one. Chelsea, should have had a penalty. It was a tight game, but I don't think we were overly negative in those two. But the Chelsea and the Arsenal ones that I stick in mind at home. He says we tried to be more positive in the bigger games, but we have not been clinical enough. They have been tight games. So there. He said, I'm not buying into the narrative that we've had a dip in form. Well, factually we have. 3-0 isn't really us. We've just lacked a bit of spark. And that's the thing. We don't seem to have a way of playing out of that funk. When we get into a plod and we're just not breaking anybody down and the football's all clunky and nothing's happening. We don't seem to have anything to just get us going in a game, a player to step on the ball and get us going. And it's all too erratic when it's coming from Fred, from Matic, in that midfield area. I think McTominay is a cert to start in this game. We've got a super chat from Jerome who says City don't concede and they score lots of goals. Honestly, isn't looking good for the lads. Damage control is important. Funnily enough, though, this is a game where if we play our cards right, look, we saw Man City against Wolves. I know it ended 4-1, but Wolves were in that game well into 70th minute, 1-1. Could have got something out of the game if they play their cards right. Yes, this City team is doing phenomenally well at the moment. 21 wins on a spin. You can't overlook that. You can beat them, do you know what I mean? They're not the best City team that we've seen over the last couple of years, in my opinion. Or at least not yet in their evolution. This team in their evolution under Pep. It was interesting listening to his interview that he did with Rio Ferdinand when he was talking about how they've changed things and how he tinkered things and kind of went back to the drawing board and started all over again. And you can see a freshness again with him now, which is worrying. But at the same time, I think we can, if we defend well and, we have the ability to do that, as we've seen, and we can, when they get up the pitch, they get high up the pitch. And yes, Ruben Diaz and John Stones have been very good for him this season. But we can, Rashford, Bruno on the break, Cavani, Marshall, whoever. We've seen we can go to Airtel and get a result. So I don't think, it's that beyond the realms of imagination that United win there. And it'd be just like us if we drop points everywhere else and go and beat Manchester City. Let's have a look at some of your other comments. Someone said Bailly for sure and McTominay and Fred will start. And I agree with that as well. So let's put Eric Bailly in. What's the formation? I'm thinking 4-2-3-1. But I could possibly see a 3-4-1-2 as he's done in the past. But I just think maybe we haven't got the players to do that. I think Daniel James will start. Anyone against my suggestion that Daniel James will start in this game? Because I do think Daniel James will start in this game. Three at the back, says Nick, thinking 4-3-3. We're never going to play that. We haven't got the midfield to do it. Although I'd love us. I think that's the way we should go forward. But I just can't see it. I do think he'll stick with the 4-2-3-1 as much as I think three at the back could work. Maybe Bailly, Maguire, Luke Shaw in the three centre backs. Alex Telles, Wan-Bissaka, McTominay, Fred, Bruno, Rashford, Cavani, something like that. Could be a possibility. But I think we'll probably see something along the lines of this. Maybe Martial will start. I think it's literally a flip of a coin between Martial and Cavani. Cavani didn't have the greatest of times out last time, but we didn't create nothing for him either. So you could possibly put it down to that. So this is the team that we've kind of come up with together. No, that's not it. This is the team. that we've come up with together. Let us know your thoughts on that. And I think it will be very close to that, even if maybe the formation isn't the same. You could possibly take Daniel James out and put Alex Telles in at left wing back, and it'd be the same 11. So I think it'll be something around those 11 players, maybe one off, maybe one different, but something like that. Anurag says, why our pivot can't carry and pass a simple pass to our forwards in a decent position? Yeah, it's really, really frustrating. And then you'll see that we end up with 2 sixes, really flat, getting flustered, giving the ball away, not getting the ball through the thirds. And then our Bruno and Rashford and Greenwood are all frustrated. So then when they do get the ball, they're just snatching at everything, looking to shoot, looking to drop a shoulder every single time. They forget about the build-up play. Our midfielders aren't getting up then to support them. That's what Paul Pogba is so important. And the rumours from Andy Mitten recently this week, or the reports rather, that Manchester United, the reports about Manchester United potentially keeping Paul Pogba, I think it's music to the ears, and it should be for all Man United fans, because Paul Pogba staying, it gives, if we get that 6 and we keep Paul Pogba, and you got a proper 6 in there, Bruno, Pogba, play a 4-3-3, man. And I think we could see this team go on another level. I really do. So obviously we need to get that right winger in as well. We're crying out for some balance, someone that will create something from the right. And then you may be not too frustrated when Rashford's dropping his shoulder and trying to score himself, because whenever the ball goes down the right, you got someone that's trying to create something, so you've got a fair balance there. Get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, get subscribing, get your thoughts in on the predicted 11. Abdullah thinks Oli will go 4-3-1-2 with Matic holding, Fred, McTominay and Bruno, which is kind of like a diamond but with the 3 flat, isn't it? Cavani is not fully fit. News out, so Martial may play, says one of the comments. Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen either. I don't think it's a huge problem. I think Martial's ball retention and hold-up play has been a lot better in recent weeks. He allows us somebody to play off, even if he's not been performing himself. But again, whether it's Cavani, whether it's Martial, we need to create something for those players. We simply have to. Taggart says no creativity on that lineup, and I agree. It's mad. That game against Palace, I was crying out for Daniel James to come on. And that says it all, because he's not creative by any stretch of the imagination. I know he's been in good form recently, but that's when you know you're in trouble. So we do need to create more. We do need to get Fred and McTominay high up the pitch and closer to Bruno Fernandes. But this is going to be a difficult game. And maybe this is a game where we can actually soak up a little bit of pressure, win the ball back, which Fred and McTominay are good at, getting busy, getting in offensive team's face, winning the ball back, and then if they can get the ball up, break quickly, we've got a chance here. But also, if we play like we did against Crystal Palace, we'll get turned over and battered. So it's a sticky one for Manchester United. And it's kind of like, do you just look to get out of it with a draw, and then you possibly just play the risk of getting battered? It's a weird one. See Bruno waffling, says Martin. I heard some of his comments. I don't think he was waffling particularly, but I do find it weird how obsessed with what's being said about him. Like, just focus on... I know he does focus on his game, but maybe that explains it sometimes when you're trying to always get a goal or assist, or trying to force things like... just don't overthink things, I think. And you're seeing it at times. Rashford getting greedy, Bruno getting greedy, Greenwood getting greedy. Use each other. Play off each other. That's when we're the better team. When we get that interchange. But then you also need to do it on the training pitch as well. And you can see this is a team that either just hasn't had time to train, to play regular patterns on a training pitch, because you got that constant turnover of fixtures. Look how good it was towards the tail end of last season. It was really good. especially when we come back just after that kind of like couple of weeks where we had the break and we had all that training. We were able to work on things. We come back and we looked good. No pre-season. Fatigue sets in. You haven't worked on your patterns. So you get stuck in this rut of just doing the same thing over and over again. The thing that isn't working. Your players at top are getting frustrated. Whenever the ball gets to them, they look to rush it. And as a result, the ball's just coming back. The pressure's just building. Your team isn't getting any further forward. And luckily, we've been defending well in the last couple of weeks because we could have dropped a lot more points. So it has been a frustrating few weeks. If you want to win any game to turn your form around, this is the one. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did manage to go there and get a positive result. But it's going to be a difficult game. It really is going to be a difficult game. I'm going to go for another draw. Probably a 1-1 draw. Nah. I'll go for a 1-1 draw, yeah. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Get your score predictions in. Or I hope it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Get your score predictions in. Get liking the video. Get commenting. Get sharing. Get your thoughts in below as well. The team looks weak without Anthony, says Wasp G. Who do I think will make top 6? City, obviously a cert. I think United, whether that's 2nd, 3rd or 4th, will manage to wrap it up somehow. Although our form's tailing off a bit. I think Chelsea under Tommy Tickles will get top 4. I think Everton possibly will get top 4. I think they'll definitely get top 6. I think Liverpool will get top 6. And maybe Spurs or West Ham. But at the moment you say West Ham, but you never know. Could be Spurs if they keep it up. Excuse me. Where am I tomorrow? I'm on the kickoff. The kickoff is on Twitch, of course. Paddock's on YouTube as well, so you can tune into both. Anyway, guys, make sure you're keeping it locked. Liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. I've been AdamMcKola. For now, I'm going to get out of here. But thanks for tuning in. See you in a bit.